Tyler Dunne, Western Hotline, GolongTD.com. All right. So one feature you've done recently among many, Dalton Kincaid. You see, is this not the word? Is this maybe too big of a word here? A breakout season coming for him, yes?
I know. I'm trying to think of another word. I feel like it's one of those buzzwords we've probably overused, but it's absolutely applicable. I don't know. Like, you go through history, and we've done it on this show, and you look at tight ends past. It's a hard position to just waltz into professional football and dominate at. You have to do a little bit of everything, and most of these guys, they weren't blocking for much of their football lives, and also it's just faster, everybody's stronger, all of that stuff. I mean, the comp would be a good one, but Dalton Kincaid looked up to Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez in year 2 led the NFL in drops, 16. He was in a much darker place than Dalton Kincaid ever dreamt of after that 4th and 5 play at Arrowhead. I mean, Tony was locking himself in his bedroom, drinking. Jack and Coke was his drink of choice, just down, out, depressed, lost. And it took his own kind of man-in-the-mirror moment to say, all right, I feel like I'm doing everything I got to do. I'm doing everything the coaches are telling me to do, but I got to do more. And he started doing more, and that's kind of when his habit of catching 100 balls before every practice began. And then he just made the Pro Bowl basically every year and changed the game forever. So, I mean, if Dalton Kincaid forced the game to evolve himself, the Bills would take it. But in his own roundabout way, I mean, he had that moment right then, that night. Micah Hyde going right up to him, and say, hey, you have to effing wipe those tears away and face the music. Own it. Own this play. And he really pointed to that moment as a defining moment in his life, really. I mean, he owned it. And it wasn't an easy play to make by any means, but then flew back to Buffalo, watched the film. You didn't have to. Right? You can bury those 3 hours and never see it again. Watched it, met with Bean, met with McDermott, and basically lived at one Bills drive for the next 5 months, and he's a much, much stronger player. I feel like he is that player who's going to bust out in a big way. They need somebody out of that whole crew, and I think it's Dalton Kincaid.
Camp starting will spare everybody from our next topic of would you take Tony Gonzalez's career for Dalton Kincaid. We won't bother with that one. I'm pretty sure we all would. Well, that's all well and good, Tyler, I would say. Like, I love the attitude and the just how this all sounds. I wonder a couple things about him. One is, and this came up from a caller earlier in the show today, but it's come up in here many times, going back to when he was drafted. The athletic potential, like the ceiling for him physically, I don't know. Can he be a downfield threat? Is he ever going to be like a hand-down player? I don't think so. I don't know what there is in terms of a ceiling for Kincaid. And also, I think he's kind of blocked here by the combination of Shakir and Knox, where Shakir is going to play that slot. Do I need a second slot with Kincaid, or who's going to play outside there? I don't see it. And then Knox, I think, especially as they became such a good running team, also isn't going anywhere. So I wonder if he can accomplish what he wants, given what, these are opinions, but what you might think are obstacles.
I mean, those are all great points. And I think it's a good problem to have when you've got 4 or 5 different dudes that you can really target and prioritize in a game plan. But if the Bills learned anything, is everyone eats is phenomenal. I mean, there's really something to it. But when it's nut cutting time and you need a play, you better have somebody that you're going to in that moment, and it doesn't matter what the defense is doing, because you're going to rely on that guy to make the play. And I would still lean Kincaid because I feel like there's still something untapped there. I mean, I don't think we've seen the finished product. And you go through history with the best of the best tight ends, and year 2, you're not seeing anything close to that finished product physically, athletically, this early, because usually, like, you don't choose to be an NFL tight end. Like, you don't grow up, unless you're Rob Gronkowski here in Western New York, idolizing Jeremy Shockey, partying off the field and running people over, which, I mean, that was probably one of the more fun parts of writing Blood and Guts, the similarities between those two. Other than that, like, tight end chooses you. Like, you've got this set of characteristics, the athleticism, the grit, the selflessness. It's just this whole combination where eventually you kind of just wind up there. And I think that Kincaid is he's a hell of a lot tougher than I thought he was. Talking to his coach at Utah, Fred Whittingham, I mean, he had just cracks in his vertebrae at the end of that season, played in the Pac-12 championship with those, would have played in the bowl game, and they had to basically protect him against himself. So he's physically tougher, mentally tougher than I think most think, and the willingness is there. I mean, he's not going to be mauling people in the run game, but I think the potential is there to get a little better, so then you can keep on the field a little bit more. And what Whittingham pointed to is the yak. Like he said, there was a point in college where he kind of emphasized that with Dalton and becoming a weapon once the ball is in his hands. So, he is a seam splitter. He's got that stuff, but maybe that's an area football-wise where you just figure out a way to get him touches. And this newer version of Dalton Kincaid, who was throwing around weights all off season and is 245 pounds of muscle, is able to do some damage. So I think that, you want to get this guy a lot more targets than you got him last year.
Tyler Dunne on the Wester Hotline, GolongTD.com for the latest piece on Kincaid, and lots of Bills content there, of course. This team, Tyler, I'm sure we've had this conversation too, just from a macro perspective on them. They've got no excuse this year, like everything points to a big year. The changes to the roster, the weakness of the division that most people see, the schedule, the big games are all home games. I mean, I don't want to add a Chiefs decline to this because that's just, who knows if there will be that. But in terms of the Bills themselves, whatever the last year of the stadium is worth for, I don't know, spirituality, like they've got everything in their favor.
I'm with you, man. 100%. It just, we've had this conversation probably before. There has been moments in time where it appeared everything was breaking Buffalo's way, right? Even getting the Chiefs at home a couple years ago, and then facing a vulnerable Lamar who you've had success against, in that championship game. I mean, that seemed to be a lane. I mean, last year, the Chiefs, they were this wasn't the pyrotechnic Chiefs of yesteryear, Tyreek Hill catching the ball, peace signing to the end zone, and they score the most points that they have in any game in 36 games against you in the AFC Championship game. So now I feel like we have had this conversation, like, oh, it's breaking perfect. But I love their offseason. I mean, it wasn't they needed to make some tweaks on offense, but maybe they made those. Maybe Dalton Kincaid lifted more weights. No, by the way, he kind of pointed to Matt Collins as well. And so he saw how Matt Collins lifted weights late in the season, got stronger. I think that's going to help him as well in terms of his development and looking at a different tight end there. But he'll be better. Keon Coleman, you got to think he'll be healthy. He'll be improved. Bean loves Joshua Palmer. We've gotten into him. Like maybe he's that threat. I didn't think that they needed to do anything massive on that side of the ball, but they sure as hell needed to on defense. And, what are you going to do? You're going to sit on your hands and just wish and hope and pray that you get a different result against Patrick Mahomes a fifth time, or are you going to do something about it? So Bosa, Ogunjobi, Hoyt, Deion Walker, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, you've got so many new faces, so many new bodies. Brandon Beane's basically handing them on a silver platter to Bobby Babbitt, Sean McDermott, and saying, all right, let's see some different results now. You've got a lot of different options here. If you're not trying, then you might as well not even participate this season. But I got to think something's different against Mahomes. I mean, he's got to at least break a sweat, right? Maybe throw a pick. Maybe you get a few stops because different players, we'll see if they're any good, but it's got to help because whatever you've been doing just hasn't been working at that point of the season.
I love maybe throw a pick. Have you considered, Patrick, one time throwing an interception against the Bills in the playoffs just to keep it interesting? Have you considered it? Maybe it's time to do so. Tyler Dunne with us here on the Wester Hotline. Mike Schopp with you. Bulldog is off this week. Tyler, I've asked this of listeners many times this summer. Are we taking the AFC East too much for granted this year? The betting markets point to the Bills as easily the biggest favorite of anyone in any division this year, kind of double what Baltimore is at second. Baltimore being second is interesting too, with Cincinnati's, potential. Are we taking the relative futility of the Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets too much for granted?
Man, I like that question because I don't know. It's really easy for all of us living here to just look past the Dolphins, and maybe we should, right? They haven't gotten over that hump, but you still have that core of elite speed that can go the distance any given moment. I mean, it took a 61-yard field goal from Tyler Bass to win at home. What was Tua, fresh up all these concussions, was like 25 of 28 that game. So you know that they've got talent, but I feel like Buffalo just has their number. Like when push comes to shove, over the course of an 18-game season, when the Dolphins have to win in the cold or win against good teams, until we see it, we can't believe it. And the same thing for New England. Until we see it, it's hard to believe. I think that they're heading the right direction. My God, I mean, Mike Vrabel's fingerprints are all over this roster. I mean, Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, right out of the chute in free agency, just getting nasty, violent players who can kind of bring his message to light. And there's a lot of familiarity, not just with Vrabel, but some of the coaches on his staff have been with these guys. Then you get into the draft, you get the best lineman. Will Campbell will give you something up front. My God, remember his interview after the draft? He's going to die for Drake May.
Yeah.
It's all set up for Drake May to take a step. If Stephon Diggs can maybe cut back on the boat appearances and whatever's happening out there, if he could give them that intensity, he's not the same player he was in 2020. But I was just talking to a coach for the Texans, and he said, look, if you get Diggs for a season or two, he will elevate the intensity level of everybody around him.
Happened here.
At some point, he'll probably wear out his welcome. Right, it happened here too. So in the short term, I think he is what the Patriots need. But until we see it, I don't know, even with their schedule, you can't just say, oh, they're ready to win the division. So, yeah, I mean, it's the Bills, and it's because of Josh Allen. I mean, and this is coming from another coach. This would be for an NFC team a couple days ago. They played Josh Allen and the Bills last year, and he said that in their game plan meetings, they're going through the roster, all the different positions, and they see a lot of, C+, B-, B players, and they weren't that impressed with a lot of guys I think locals are impressed with. But going into the game, they were still terrified of Josh Allen. There's just nothing you can really do defensively to go in and say, this is how we stop this player, that he'll find a way. So as long as he's the quarterback, simplistic as it is, the Bills should own the AFC East, bare minimum.
I do think that probably continues until Allen's rushing one way or another becomes mitigated. Like just the way he can – you could play a third and medium perfectly and still lose because of him and his ability to run for first downs and then touchdowns. And I don't know how to predict. It's interesting, Tyler, like he's such a physical force. The Cam Newton comparisons are always made. With running backs, I feel like we're always just so eager to write them off because of their age. I mean, Allen doesn't run that often. He's not like 300 touches or anything like that in terms of rushes. But with running backs, the age is always the thing. Barkley, even, going into last year, always Derrick Henry. And I just wonder what the evolution of this is for Allen. A couple of years ago, they wanted to rein him in. We talked about sliding a lot. And then they were 6-6, and that was over. They needed the production. So I wonder just how that evolves.
No, because I feel like if you play that game, you're probably overthinking it. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to neuter and spay like the greatest weapon that you have. It's Josh Allen in full, doing whatever the hell he wants with everything on the line. He's probably getting better at like picking and choosing his spots, right? Like if it's the first quarter against the New York Jets in Week 7, you don't necessarily need him truck sticking a linebacker. That kind of stuff, or, obviously the leap over Anthony Barr comes to mind really early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's cutting back on that stuff, I guess, would help. But, man, and I think Brandon Beane gets this, and maybe Sean McDermott does too. Like, you can't try to force him to be something he's not. I mean, this is a backyard quarterback. He's not going to overthink it. He's going to play loose. He's going to be free. Honestly, I think that's what drove Brian Daboll nuts with the Giants. Like, Daniel Jones is just the opposite. Like, he takes everything so serious. He's way too robotic, personality-wise, just so rigid. It was such a swing away from everything he had with Josh Allen that I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did, 3 years. And finally, maybe they get a personality match with Jackson Dart, if not Russ Wilson. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like the Bills just kind of have to let Josh Allen, pilot all of this, steer all of this. He's the one in charge, and just kind of maybe gently kind of nudge him the right direction. And, hey, let's not truck stick, the Tennessee Titans cornerback in a game that doesn't matter. But overall, just get the hell out of his way and enjoy it as long as it lasts. Because, Super Bowl windows open and close for all teams and all quarterbacks, regardless. Like, I don't know. Like, there's quarterbacks who couldn't run worth a lick, and all of a sudden they're out. Right? They're not contending anymore. Right now, the getting's good. I wouldn't want to slow him down at all. And I think the Bills, big picture, get that.
Works for me. I agree, by the way. What's coming up next at GolongTD.com?
Oh, man. So today I had a really fun conversation with Fitzmagic, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And so obviously a ton of Bills talk. He looks back at 2011, that win over the Patriots. Just, it's wild. He went 20-33 as the starter, and yet he's beloved. I mean, I'm surprised there's not a statue or a street named after him somewhere. That everybody here loves Fitzpatrick. So we kind of get into why that is. He has some theories. And my God, he played 17 years, 9 teams, had 7 kids in 7 different cities, just an unparalleled football life. And he really opened up over the course of an hour. And if nothing else, stick around, or I guess it's at the top of the conversation. We talked about, chest hair and back hair for probably longer than we should have, but a full analysis on, where you draw the line. I think that's worth listening to. And on Monday, I'll have a story on the Cleveland Browns. And
all right.
What a team and what a juncture. They're freeing themselves of Deshaun Watson, the player, if not the contract. But I think the air just it breathes a little easier. Everything's a little fresher down there in Cleveland these days.
Fitz is who needs that first idea with the different monitors for all the kids stuff. I mean,
oh my God,
7. I got 2. What am I complaining about? Very good. Tyler, enjoy your weekend. Always great to talk to you.
Always enjoy, Mike. Thanks so much for having me, man. Good luck with the kiddos.
Yes, thank you. Tyler Dunne, GolongTD.